Yay! Welcome to another fun episode of the I'm Not Salesy podcast. And I have a really fun guest today. I have Aleasha Baer. And I'm like looking at Aleasha, like, did I pronounce your last name correctly? Because I meant to ask that before. But yeah, so Aleasha is like I think a sister from another mister, to be honest. Like I found Aleasha on LinkedIn and I'm so drawn drawn to like you're so relaxed and like casual, but tell it as it is, which I love. And because I'm the same way too. Although I feel like you're almost like like a spirit animal showing the way for me, because like you're like next level to take that on LinkedIn and be yourself. Whereas like when I first came on LinkedIn, I feel like I was still like kind of stuffy, like not really like myself completely. So like I love everything you have to say. But if you guys want to know more about Alicia, as I like love bomb her, she is a sales strategist, a speaker, and a best-selling author and founder of the Black Sheep Sales Method, because if it's a fit, it's a fact, and there's no selling involved. Like, honestly, that hits me to my heart and my core, because like I know, like, if I can go back and I can retroactively like piece together the strategies I had, but as a salesperson, like to be very successful, but like at the time, I'm like, well, I don't know, like I just go in and I talk to them. You know what I mean? Like I don't really, I'm not like
Yeah.
I never listened to Zig Ziglar or anything. I was just like. He said, go form relationships. And I'm like, okay, here's some muffins and some coffee. And what did you do this past weekend? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, so but I'm excited today because Alicia's been a powerhouse too with sales. She's sold over $50 million in services herself, and she's helped others sell 17.5 million over the last 4 years alone, because she takes this personal, like proven and personalized approach. And so I want to dive right into that. Today, we're going to be talking about selling based on fit and what she's trademarked as the Black Sheep Sales Method. And that just came about pretty recently, right? Like you get in the mark and stuff. I've been seeing you branding that on LinkedIn a lot lately, right?
Yeah. It's been an evolution
Yeah.
of, figuring out exactly who my favorite client is and how to talk to them.
Yeah. So who is your favorite client? Let's dive into this, because I feel like do you feel like even service-based people or just any sales rep can decide who their, favorite types of clients are to sell to and focus on them?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I don't know about sales reps.
Yeah.
So when I was a
I know,
sales
as that
rep,
came out of my mouth, I was like, wait, hold on. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
when I was a sales rep for somebody
Mhm.
else, I had to work with a lot of people that I didn't like.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's one of the reasons I went into business for myself was I get to choose who I work with.
Mhm. Yeah,
And so
makes a
my
difference.
favorite Yeah, and my favorite clients are service providers, and
Mhm.
they're usually, I mean, they're black sheep. So there's somebody who does something differently, has a different opinion, a different perspective, approaches things differently than what everyone says they should do. And they have in their life gotten pressure from mainstream people who tell them to do it a certain way. And
Mhm.
they tried to do it, but it just didn't get them results.
Yeah.
And there's like these weird things that mainstream tries to push on people. Like, I mean, they used to literally beat people for using their left hand. Like,
What?
who cares? Yeah, they would like, hit them with rulers. You got to use your right hand
Oh,
if you're left-handed. It's like, who cares?
yeah.
Like, it's very strange. I mean, I experienced this at corporate. I'm
Yeah.
wondering if you did too. Like, they would try to tell you how to sell, and it's like, if I'm getting sales, why do you care?
Yeah. Well, and like one of the worst experiences I had was working for a division of Johnson and Johnson that I had transferred into, and they're no longer owned by them. But at the time, it was like I moved from pharma sales into capital equipment sales, which is
Mm,
a very long sales cycle. It's like a two
yeah.
years sometimes. It can be 3 to 6 months, but most of the time it's like about 1 to 2 years. And I was used to being able to go in, talk to a doctor, change their perception on something and have them prescribed that day. And I remember in training also, the people in our training department were like old laboratory workers who had no social skills at all and were very envious of people coming from, like, they kind of shit on people who came from pharmaceuticals. And I remember that was like the most stressful 3 months of my freaking life because my personality had always worked for me, you know? And when I
Yeah.
went into there, they like zeroed in on me because I was like, I was definitely
Different.
the black sheep of the group. And my manager who hired me was the black sheep of the management. And he didn't give a shit what they said. He had his own couple $1 million businesses. And so he was just doing this because he loved it, and he was like, he had been doing it for so long, kind of, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to turn down good money and good benefits, right?
Yeah.
So since I was hired by him and since I showed up just thinking, oh, this is going to be just like my pharmaceutical time where, like they love our great big personalities. And I was definitely like, it was like I dug myself a grave and I couldn't get out of it the entire time. It was so miserable.
It's
Ugh.
really weird when there's like this resistance from people who are just like, why are you different? And it's like, why do you care? I'm not
Yeah.
trying to tell you to act differently or do anything differently.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to like get
Mhm.
whatever gets me results over here.
Yeah.
So, I there's like multiple levels to the black sheep message that I have. And one of them is the courage to tell people to not succumb to that pressure, not give
Yeah.
into it
Yeah.
because you know what works for you and that as long as it's in integrity, like results and are you having a good time are really the only measurements that matter.
Really? Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I feel like so few people talk about the having a good time part, you know, because you've got to be having a good time with what you're doing and selling. If otherwise, it's going to feel like work and you may as well just go get a job somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like go work for somebody else because at least it'll be consistent income, you know?
Yeah, well, and it's crazy because these service providers that sell their own services, they're not salespeople. And
Yeah.
so they get a strategy from somebody that might kind of work sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's so unpleasant.
Yeah. So let's dive into this. So, like you mentioned, like having the courage to not be pressured to do something they don't want to do, but they might not even know that they don't want to do it yet because they haven't tried it until afterwards and then assume that every other sales strategy is the same way, right? Is that what you're
Hmm.
finding?
No. So like you mean they have a bad experience with a sales strategy and then assume that every other sales strategy is like that?
It's going to feel that way, you know?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I've had prospects recently who are like, I was scared to talk to you because I thought you were going to make me do something that I didn't want to do. And I'm like, have you ever seen
And
my
any of my
messaging?
content.
It's like the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
I like talk about it all the time. Um,
Relentless. Yeah.
yeah.
In a
So
good
that
way.
Thank you. So that is an issue with a lot of
Yeah.
sales experts is they're like, this is what worked for me, so it's what will work for you, and it's very not specific.
Yeah.
It's super generic, and they just tell people to like customize it themselves. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, I can't because I'm not a sales expert. So they don't give them words that are going to help them with the actual like their service and their audience.
Can you give some examples of this? Like, what has been the biggest ones that stand out?
That
Just in
that
case people are sitting there thinking like, "Oh, what does she mean?" You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, usually the most common sales strategy for a service provider, if they get one from a sales expert, is like, well, what's your goal? And why haven't you gotten there? And why now? And, what's it going to look like if you don't achieve this goal?
Mhm.
And really dig into that down to the point where they, ideally, if they cry, they buy, is a saying.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and then show them the gap and bridge the gap with your offer. So I have everything that you need. I'm going to be really vague about it. I'm just going to say it's exactly what you want in your words.
Mhm.
And if you don't choose moving forward with me, then you're choosing the really shitty life that we just painted. That was the worst case scenario of if you don't figure this out. And we were kind of talking about this before you started recording. It's
Yeah,
like breeding this self-doubt in people, and it's making them feel like, okay, well, you're going to save me, right? Because like you have the solution. And it's like really a bad leaving such a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And the
yeah.
only point of that sales strategy is to get somebody to say yes,
To beat them
even if
into
it's
submission.
even if it's not in their best interests.
Yeah. It's funny, like when you say that, like that, and I think, oh gosh, that would definitely work on some, like work on somebody like me if I was struggling to meet like a certain goal. However, it wouldn't feel good to do that to someone else. You know what I mean? Like I would
Yeah.
probably fall for something like that, to be honest. But like, you
So
know?
kind-hearted people really struggle executing that strategy
Yeah.
because it is so unpleasant to make somebody feel you have to like walk through a swamp with them. It's
Yeah.
draining.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's a difference between building a relationship and then challenging them to think like, okay, you've agreed this is going to have. Now what challenge is there if you don't do that? You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's a difference between that, especially if they've already agreed that from like a pleasure standpoint that this is what they want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the
Like
whole it's
leveraging
all
the
based on the
relationships.
idea that fear drives people more. So let's
Yeah.
just really put them in a place of fear and scarcity. And I have a lot of people don't like that, don't
Yeah.
respond well to that.
No.
So it works on a minority of people, I would say. And when that person enters to work with you, like, especially if you're someone who has longer client relationships, it's not a great foundation for that relationship to start with. Like, they're not going to come in excited. They're like coming in with their tail in between their legs.
Yeah. And putting all the pressure on you to get the results.
Totally. So, I mean, the approach that I have is really like being very, very clear about fit. So, yes, you want to talk about where is this in your priorities in your business and like talking through that. But it's like, it's very much not about convincing because if you're convincing people, like, they're not going to buy anything. You're not going to sell anything.
Yeah.
And so instead of convincing, becoming curious
Yeah. Oh,
and
I love that.
yeah, and really understanding the other person's situation while simultaneously keeping space for it not to be a fit. Like you are genuinely looking to see, and the other person will feel that.
Mhm.
And by fit, you can ask questions like, well, what are your goals? And what are your expectations working with me? What is your timeline for those goals?
Yeah.
And, what do you have in place already? Because,
Yeah.
when I work with people and they have XYZ, those are the people that will get the results the fastest.
Yeah.
And when all that lines up, it's very easy to just say like, okay, well, what you're expecting and the results you want on the timeline that you have is what I do. So I
Yeah.
don't see any issue with that. And like, let's do it
Yeah.
instead of this convincing thing.
Yeah, like rebuilding the ship. Yeah, that sounds terrible.
I mean,
Yeah, it just sounds
it's
like
an exhausting process. And it's
well, yeah.
also sometimes also like there's this other type of sales approach where it's like incredibly focused on tone. Have you seen any of that, Cassie?
I don't think so. Let me hear what you have to say. I'm gonna write this down though, so I don't forget for when I write my show notes.
Okay. Well, I mean, some people are obsessed with tone. Like
Tone?
I've seen sales scripts that have next to sentences like say this in a I'm diagnosing you tone. Say this in a, you know, curiosity tone. And it's
Oh,
like, oh my God, how could you be present in a conversation if you're manufacturing your tone every sentence?
yeah.
And you know what works better than faking a tone of voice, just actually having an intention, then
Yeah.
your tone's going to sound
Yeah.
fine. Like the fact that you are m- focusing on the manipulation of the other person so much that you're like faking,
Yeah.
like just have the
Very
intention. I'm
true.
trying to understand what's going on so that I can help you. Like, and that intention will naturally create the right tone.
It's so like, I mean, and what is it? 93% of what like the communication we do is nonverbal. So that's like taking NLP on steroids. It's not very authentic though. You know what I mean? Like I believe in adding some like, obviously some persuasive language that helps you, that salespeople do. You know what I mean? Like if you want
Of
to do
course.
this, then you can do this so you can blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like just simple things to get like the like momentum going, but like I tried following a sales script, funny enough, like when I was first doing sales calls, and I couldn't even like keep up with it because I'd be like asking, and this is me with like at the time I had like 20 years of sales experience, and I'd never used a script in the past. I just had an idea of like opening a conversation and asking them questions about their situation and what's going on and what issues and concerns they already have about a product that they've bought, and working through those and moving the conversation that way. But I was like trying to read the script and I couldn't even keep up with the questions. I'd like lose my space and be like, and so if you continue to do, I'm like, oh wait, I already asked them. Like, it was like such a bad experience. That's what I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't follow a sales script. I just need to have a conversation with people.
Well, that's what everybody wants. It's
Yeah.
impossible to script every single way that a conversation could go.
Yeah.
Humans are the most unpredictable thing, and there are two of them in a sales conversation. How are you going to have words for every possible direction that it goes?
Yeah.
Like, it's
Mhm.
completely unrealistic, and it takes all authenticity out of it. And
Yes.
yeah, so I'm all about a structure. Like, there's information that you want to make sure you have,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
and but like you can't script word for word.
Yeah. Right. So, how do you suggest like I mean, I know where I would go with it, but how do you suggest people then tailor this, sell like the selling process based on them being a good fit and selling to people who are a good fit?
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at who gets results with you and is super happy, there
Mhm.
are certain patterns you can identify.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can even be a pattern that's like they all have kids because you have kids
Yeah. Mhm.
or something. Or they have certain things in place or certain experiences that they've already had.
Mm.
Maybe they've been in business a certain amount of time, or they have support on their staff or a team, or they've already gone through branding, or
Yeah.
they already have a service that they've delivered, or there's lots of things. And then you really want to tailor your questions around that. Obviously, you want to ask other questions too, but what people are usually doing is they're not talking about the potential objections.
Yeah.
So, and they're not talking about the things that limit someone's success. Like, oh, if we don't talk about them, they don't exist. No, they definitely still exist. So
Yeah.
just like ask about them. So if people a lot of times have an objection about how this sounds time consuming, you're going to want to ask, how much time do you have to invest in this ahead
Yeah.
of time? And
Yeah.
let them know if that's enough or if it's not. And if it's not, be honest, because like what happened, you're saying you're a natural salesperson basically, and I was a natural salesperson too. And
Yeah.
so natural salespeople usually don't understand why they're good at sales. Like you were saying, I just go in and have a
Yeah.
conversation.
Mhm.
But since, dialing this in over 5 years, I've put out words and a formula to it.
Yeah.
And when you ask a natural salesperson, how do you sell? They say, well, I don't really sell.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know what that means. So, what they're
Totally.
saying is that they are letting someone know when it's not a fit. So they'll say, actually, you don't need this.
Yeah.
Or you don't need to buy this like more expensive option because your situation doesn't need the bells and whistles. And so you're
Yeah.
going to go with this. And that makes them say they're not selling. And it's what's going to build the most trust with your prospect. They're going to come back, they're going to refer you. And when someone is actually a fit, you're going to get super excited about it and be like, great, this is the thing for you. This
Yeah.
is why. These are all the things you're going to get from it. So, like that intention for, the other person's best interests,
Yeah.
just having that as a foundation is incredibly effective. And to the point of people who like their only goal, like the sales strategies, their only goal is to get a yes. They
Yeah.
don't even know who's not a fit for their program.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have a working credit card? You're a fit.
Yeah.
Like, there has to be more criteria than a working credit card. And you want to let the other person know who doesn't get results? Because everybody's concern right before they invest is, oh my God, what if I'm an exception? What if there's a question I didn't ask? What if there's information I don't have? This doesn't work for everyone. So just let them know. I'm going to let you know when this doesn't work if you don't tap into me. If you don't tell me what's going on, if you don't ask questions, if you don't implement, if you like, I don't
Don't
know,
show up for calls.
don't come to the monthly meetings, like
Yeah.
whatever, and get their buy-in on it. Or if you're somebody who's prioritizing money over quality, or
Yeah.
just needs bodies and doesn't have a company culture, or you can let them know so the person can say, "Ooh, that's not me."
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. I feel like it's this inner sense of actually like legitimately caring about the other person on the other side of the sales call, and of like the sales conversation, and like you're doing them a favor. And like, with like I do remember so many times, especially in my sales career, where I'd be like, "Oh, you're fine. You just need this much, like this month, or you don't need to do all this," because it wasn't so much about like, I was more concerned about them realizing they bought the wrong thing or bought too much, and then it would come back to me and then lose the whole entire deal for, years to come. Like, you've got it's another piece of this long-term vision versus short-term get rich quick. Because people who if you're doing this kind of convincing sale to get people in, and it's obvious that you just want bodies and you just want credit cards and you just want to be able to go on social media and be like, "Look how much my company made this quarter
Ugh,
or this month," you don't
yeah.
actually care about the person, then like it costs 5 times as much time and energy to sign a new client as it does someone who's already bought from you. So you are
Seriously.
leaving so much money and time on the table. You are leaving so many more like moments where you can sit on the beach with, a Mai Tai and have your business run itself pretty much. You know what I mean? Like have the sales naturally come to you from the people who already bought from you, client satisfaction doing the sales for you versus, having to hustle and grind and do the job that you normally do just to fulfill the service that you're used to fulfilling for the clients that you currently have on the roster. It's like it's mind-boggling to me. Actually, I can never say that right because I've seen, what is it, that Will Ferrell movie where it's like mind-boggling, like like your mind is like
Oh,
stuck in a bottle.
that's funny. I haven't seen that.
Like, which one did I say? It's mind-boggling. Yeah, so but it really, like, blows my mind because 'cause I'm like, how I guess I mean, you would think it'd be common sense to know that, but people must not truly get it, you know?
I don't know. It is a fundamental issue in mindset in America because we've all had the experience where somebody was very attentive in the sales process and then did not
Deliver.
deliver.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
why would you do that? And all they're doing is focusing on prospects. They're giving prospects more attention than clients. And it should never be that way.
No.
For
Yeah.
yes, the client's benefit, but also for your own, to all the
Mhm.
points that you were saying. And
Yeah.
it's like having an upsell strategy, having a retention strategy. Like if you keep burning your clients, you've got a reputation problem. It's going to be harder to get new clients because they're going to hear that you don't deliver. I mean, it
Right.
seems so common sense, but like majority numbers
Yeah.
of the mindset being different seems like it's not. I don't know how it's not.
I know. That's why I'm such a huge fan of like automating a piece or all of like the lead generation process. I mean, obviously like writing content, but having some piece that does the selling for you, once people like enjoy your content and have the value and all. But and then focusing your most of your energy on the retention and upselling. It just seems to make so much more sense, and not to mention, it's like, then you don't have to worry about building community because you're already building the community by how you're treating your current, community of clients and customers.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's a freaking epidemic. So, knowing who is a fit and who really gets results, you're going to build your community with the right people because they're going to be happy
Yeah,
because they
yeah,
get results.
yeah. So as far as like, how did you decide who would be a great fit for you? Like if somebody's sitting there and they have never even considered this and they're like, holy shit, this is why I wake up every day and dread having to serve my clients or work in my business, because a lot of your business satisfaction goes right alongside with the people pleasing level of people pleasing that you do day to day, right?
Hmm.
And also, let's just mix in a little, like sprinkle in some fear of raising your prices because you don't want to leave people behind, and so then you end up
Yeah.
realizing that you're not charging for your genius. And there's all these, like, it's like a cornucopia of, issues that a lot of times are completely like invisible, right? Like you don't even, especially if this is your first business and you've never
Yeah.
had one of your own before, it can be scary. So you end up taking a lot of people who aren't a great fit. So if somebody doesn't even know where to start with that, where can you walk us through how you did it?
I mean, unfortunately, I have tried to save people from the some money is not better than no money trap
Yeah.
because it's very tempting
Yeah.
when you have someone in front of you who wants to pay you something,
Mm.
even if it's not the right fit, even if they're asking you to do something out of scope, even if they're trying to pay less than you would feel happy with.
Right.
And the thing is, those clients will take up so much energy and time that it'll keep you from the good clients who will pay you well.
Yes.
Um, but like it's one of those things that people just have to experience. I
Mhm.
would say like the big red flags are when they're asking you to do something out of scope. Just because you can does not mean that you should.
Mhm.
And if they're asking ahead of time, like you want to have a streamlined service that's just your zone of genius and have other people you can recommend for these other things that come up.
Mhm.
And I mean, ideally you want to look at like who you get the best results with and what they need to have in place to come up with the criteria. And also just trusting your gut. Every time I've accepted a red flag client, I knew that it was not there was something off. So
Yeah.
it's definitely like tuning into your intuition too and just a mindset shift of not coming from a place of fear and scarcity. And you'll find as you go what maybe if you're like newer in it, you don't know who doesn't get results with you yet. So you'll find it as you go and just do your best not to attach judgment to it
Yeah.
or negative emotions and take it as data. So like, okay, people who are in tech are not as good of a fit, or people who are in software, not as good of a fit. And it's really just data that you're stacking up and it helps you get clearer and clearer on your message before the sales call and in the sales conversation, honestly. Um, so I would say like just try to be kind to yourself. And if it's a new offer for you, let someone know, like, I'm offering you an incentivized price in exchange for knowing it's not perfect.
Yeah. Right. It's a work in progress.
Yeah. Like, normally I would charge this amount. And
Mhm.
as a result, you'll get more of me probably because we're going to need to interact so much to perfect it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that happens. So what kinds of service providers do you work with per se? And do you work with companies too?
So it's such a like tricky thing because I can definitely help companies and they have bigger budgets and it's
Yeah.
easier and all that. But it's just not as fulfilling as
Mm.
helping a business, like a service provider who's selling their own service, because that person just wants something like it's going to impact them a lot more. And there's like it's really rewarding to make that
Yeah.
impact. I'm like kind of addicted to it.
Right.
Whereas like if I help a company, the sales team's like whatever. I'm here because I have to be here, kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I do really like somebody who's selling their own service for that reason. And I understand their process inside and out. And my superpower is explaining it in like a sentence. It's just like this talent I've been given. So it's really nice to be able to do that for people because they can talk about what they do and how valuable it is confidently, which is an issue a lot of the time, as people
Right.
like don't know how to communicate the value of what they're doing.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
and then also that combined with the permission to say, oh, this person's just not a fit, because so many people beat themselves up. Like, why didn't they close? It's something I did. It's like blah,
Mhm.
blah, blah. Oh, should I go out of my way for this person? And it just makes it so much easier for them to confidently say, actually, you're looking for a done for you marketing agency, and I'm not that,
Yeah. Yeah.
or whatever the case.
Definitely. Oh, yeah. That makes total sense. Yeah, and then you've got your people to refer out to.
Yeah. And I mean, ideally, you're setting up like commission affiliate relationships with
Affiliates, yeah.
them. And, not that that's the only reason you're going to refer someone, make sure that they're not full of shit, like vet
Right.
them.
Yeah, totally.
But like, yeah, it can be like a nice little symbiotic ecosystem.
Yeah, I love that. I did that with one of my actually about a year ago I interviewed a girl who's like a NLP master and she trains, therapists in NLP and trains like salon owners and things. And
Hmm.
so and really loves it like because it's totally changed her life. And so she comes from like a really heart-based space with NLP too and a lot of people, there's a lot of people out there who don't. And
Yeah.
so we partner up too, where she actually became one of my clients, and then now she refers her clients that need help with sales to me, and then I refer NLP people to her. So even though, like I said, same thing, even though I'm trained in NLP, like I could probably teach you how to do a bunch of things, but like it's not my wheelhouse. Like I don't really like I don't really want to. You know?
Yeah. Knowing what you really want to do
Yeah.
is so important.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Like, I just wanna help with, like, simple shifts in your sales strategy and your like, make it doing what's it? I always get this backwards, like, working smarter, not harder, right? Like,
yes.
making more money in way fewer hours working, and then also now adding in the side with, like, the nervous system, like, doing the breath work to get your energy behind going out to sell. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
A
which is
tongue
really important
twister.
because it can feel so draining and something that
Yeah.
you really dread.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can also point you in the way, like it can point you in the direction of something that's going to be more fulfilling. Like people might not see, like they might think something's wrong with them if they go and they're making a buttload of money helping corporations, but looking at the Zoom call full of sales reps that are literally just sending emails to their customers or texting their boyfriend about where they're going to happy hour for Taco
Yeah.
Tuesday, and you're like, listen, I'm delivering motherfucking gold here. Like,
Yeah.
listen to me. And they're like, I forgot who, like, is this done? You're like, how long does this go till?
Right.
It's like, is this almost done? Can I go? Like, I need to go make sales calls. I need to wrap some things. I need to enter things in my CRM so I don't finish my expense report. Like,
Right. It's
and
such a
like,
different
yeah.
vibe.
And then you don't get as much good, you don't get very specific feedback. It's not like one of the reps is going to reach out to you and be like, "Oh my God, this totally changed my life." You know what I mean? Unless
Yeah. I'm
you're like,
addicted to that.
yeah, I get
Yeah.
that totally. So, well, what's one last thing that you want to say about, to the black sheep out there who might feel like something's utterly wrong with them? Wait, do sheep have udders? Because if so, I totally did not mean to put a
No. I
seriously.
mean, no, they have like nipples,
They
but
do.
not
Oh, okay.
udders. I think udders are nipples though, so I don't know. I don't know
If you
actually.
think something's nipply wrong with you. But if you feel like you don't belong or that something feels off. So what do you want to leave them with today?
Well, I would like to say that I would like to leave you with the truth that it is 2024 and the time is here when there is a variety of people in decision making positions
Hmm.
and a new approach is needed. We've been
Yeah.
through a pandemic. There's AI. The same old strategy isn't going to work. And black sheep are the ones who innovate, who impact, who inspire, and who progress the world forward. If you look at any progress we've ever made, it was definitely someone who had a different idea, and everyone said, that's dangerous and scary and sit down and be quiet. And they said, yeah, I'm going to keep going. And
Yeah.
so to have that courage, knowing that it's so necessary for the world that we're in now, and that when you embrace it, you're going to get more success because of it, because the time is now for
Yeah.
people who approach things differently and more effective.
Yeah. So since it's my podcast, I can ask one more question because I meant to close it out with that, but I would want to do a follow-up.
Okay, okay.
This is my freaking show. But I know we talked about kind of the fear-mongering sales script and
Yeah.
tone. What else would you put into that bucket just so people know what to look out for and stay away from? Because it's probably gonna feel icky and gross and whatever. But, like, if you could list out, like, a few different things that like a different like the other approach that needs to be left in the garbage can. You know what I mean? Like the other
Yeah.
sales approaches, you can feel free to rattle off as many as you want to, just so people listening, the black sheep, the people listening know what to I mean, this is I'm not salesy podcast, right? So it's all of that.
Yeah.
So
So,
just so they know what to look out for.
I mean, I think anytime that a sales expert is saying that you need to build resilience through rejection, I
Oh,
would run.
yeah.
Like, so you need to do all this cold outreach and stuff. And if you need 25 or less clients that are long-term relationships to be happy, you don't need to be focusing on volume.
Yeah.
Um, Also, there's like a strategy that's about getting somebody to say yes to a bunch of questions and then they say yes at the end. That's again, the intention is just to get someone to say yes. Also, that's bullshit. A bullshit strategy. But like the intention behind it isn't in the buyer's best interests. So I would say avoid anything that's not in the buyer's best interests. And there's also like this real aggressive alpha male kind of energy to mainstream sales that it has a very condescending feel to it. And they say things like control the call and like be the authority and stuff like that. And that sounds like it's coming from a place of deep insecurity to me. And I don't think that that's necessary. And most people, it requires you to make somebody else feel small.
Yeah.
And people don't really like that.
Yeah.
Um, so anything I would say just pay attention to your intuition. And if something does not align with you or feel good, listen to that. Because it's not going to feel good or to the person who's on the receiving end either. They can feel that.
Right. Well, and I just wrote down like if you want to have clients who you're doing big expansive things with your services, then the wrong like it's probably not aligned to make them feel small because then, you want to make them feel big and full. You want like the sales process to feel as expansive as it does working with you.
That's what I think, Cassie. That's what
Mhm.
I think. But there are a lot of alpha
Mhm.
aggressive men who would disagree. What? Oh, I mean,
They probably have really small wieners too.
oh,
They drive a big
y-
truck.
yeah, there's something that they're insecure about for sure. It just feels like if you have something awesome to
Yeah.
deliver and you get people
Mhm.
results, there's no reason to have to manipulate or make
Um,
someone feel small.
mhm. Yeah.
I think it's a sign that you're not going to deliver something quality.
Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, so also use this as like all of this stuff goes both ways, like use this as a buyer. Like take these
Oh yeah.
recognize these types of things that people are selling to you in this specific way, then recognize that as like flip the script there as a buyer and know that maybe there's something to, look out for and maintain your power in the sales conversation whether you're buying or selling too.
Very good point.
So anyway, yay, we'll end on that. Tell Aleasha,
Perfect.
tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah. So I would say if this resonated with you, to
Mhm.
go listen to my podcast, Sales is Not a Dirty Word,
Love it.
specifically the episode on how to sell like a natural. And it really lays the foundation and you can kind of like dig into my solo episodes from there. And then if it's, resonating with you, a lot of people have said that just in the past 72 hours that they've like doubled and tripled their sales from my podcast. So I would say,
Awesome.
like, what would it be worth if it was specific to you? If that feels like it would be valuable, then there is a lot of, like, in the show notes and on my site, the ability to book a sales level up call.
Yay! Well, I'm so excited. Yeah, everybody go check out Aleasha. Go check out Sales is Not a Dirty Word. And you can find her on LinkedIn too. I'll put that link there in the show notes and you can go check her and connect. Hit connect, not follow.
Yeah.
Unless you're a skis bag, then you can hit follow, but nobody's listening to this is a skis bag. You guys are all cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, Alicia, and happy Valentine's Day. I
Ooh,
hope
happy
you have
Valentine's
a
Day.
beautiful day out there in Denver and wherever you are listening. As the listener of I'm Not Salesy, I hope you have a great day too, and we will be seeing you next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Wait, hold on.